I guess the hardest thing is like looking at all this stuff today. I guess there really is people that do find it much easier to slip into the role of the villain for their stories in comparison to writing for the hero. Because I find it's the exact opposite for me. Like, I have to work very hard to be like, okay, I have to write this stuff out for the villains and, kind of like turn the eye away from the heroes for a bit to like move their story forward. But I've noticed even with the Uplift Protocol, most times, if I'm lucky, I'll get about 3 to 4 thousand words in for like a chapter or issue that's focusing on them. But I find more often than not, it's fairly streamlined. Like issue 6 clocked in about like 1,900 words or so, maybe a little bit over that. And even with some of the earlier chapters, introducing Toth and a few of the others, yeah, I'm looking at like 2.5 to 3,000, maybe 3.5 sometimes. And then there's quite a few hero chapters where they easily get up to 6K most times, or even more. Like the Science Importance chapter clocked in around, I'd have to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure it was over 12,000 words. I think the longest chapter I've had was about 17, but I'd have to go back through them to see which one, hit that big cycle. But yeah, I guess it really is mindset of the writer and what they want to focus on. So we just gotta find more people that are interested in aspirational heroes again and superversive stuff. That's the thing. I guess we all gotta really band together and basically try to find each other across the desert of like anti-heroes and villains and everything else. Because I understand you have to have a villain that has enough drive to be a good contrast to the hero in terms of like like the hero is everything that aspirational needs to be versus a villain that's all out for themselves. I think I've done a decent job with that. I'll wait and see how things are like 2 years from now because I'm pretty much I pretty much write stuff every day, even if I'm not doing whole entire like chapters all at once. Sometimes it just turns out to where there's days where I put out 20,000 words. There's days where I only get like 5,000 in. There's some where I only get like 1,000 in. But at least the biggest thing for me is to be disciplined enough to get something out every day, whether it's working on the blog, whether it's working on the channel, whether it's even working on the serial. You know, I'm almost done with issue 9. I'm about halfway done with issue 8. I'm just thinking of ways like, how do I want to cap issue 8 off? Because you know what? Gino and Thomas are pretty much my Sheridan and Delin of that setting. Where of all the couples, they're probably my favorite because even with Superman setups, I did like Ma and Pa Kent, even if they weren't in the foreground as much in the comic books. At least for my setting, I can make them much more active, and I like seeing how they contrast with their daughter, even though he hasn't been on screen as much just yet. Seeing how Dexter compares and contrasts with his sister is going to be fun too. He is I don't want to say that he's like any kind of morally great character. He's just very driven by what he sees, coming. Um, he doesn't have as much of a, I guess, blunted kind of like or what I would say. Uh, he has some of his sister's memories, but he's not the type that's been socialized as much. Like in terms he doesn't have he won't be polite, let's put it that way. He'll be very straightforward and blunt and like if you're an absolute asshat to someone he's like you're why are you being a stupid idiot? You're horrible. He won't have much of a filter on him. That's the thing. Um and I figured if Eliza has a whole lot of like fortitude and maybe not, I wouldn't say temperance as much yet. She has a pretty good sense of justice. Um, I would say of the two, Dexter's probably has a little bit more temperance. But as we go along, I'll explore that further. Because again, that's why this series is going to be multiple books. I just have all sorts of things I want to tell. I just got to figure out the way I want to tell it and what makes me happy. So yeah, it's like because for me, the villain sections are more like a highlight of what they're doing while the heroes are off doing what they're doing. And with the villains, the one big thing with them is they'll all pretty much backstab each other somehow. Um, probably the only one that won't directly backstab Toth is pretty much Medusa, because she has like one of those kind of like very puppy dog love towards him. It's very misplaced, but that's the kind of setup that's there. Adam Mayhem kind of has a messed up relationship with Kronos. Kronos doesn't really care. Dude just wants to create the ultimate gateway for unity to spread throughout everything, including all corners of the multiverse. So, yeah, that's the thing. I guess it's because when it comes to what I'm telling, I just want a more simplified setup of the archetypes, and then whatever events happen, it'll just slowly grow out from there. Um, yeah, I guess it's also the reason why I find hero stuff is easier for me to do is because I want to legitimately see more of that in writing. If you want to see example of villains doing depraved things, well, just turn the corner and there's a whole entire sea of it. Especially with everybody's, putting the villain more in the forefront for a lot of stuff, which is why we have so much anti-hero stuff everywhere. You know, Again, I hopefully the pendulum will start switching back to where it'll be like maybe a lot more even keeled. I want to see more reconstruction, more hopeful stuff. So, again, if it's not out there, we got to make it. That's all I can really say. And have a good night, everybody.